Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Peace and blessings to all our listeners. And yes, we are resuming our Monday mid morning talk with me, your host, Maryam Mia. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. In the name of Allah, the most beneficent, the most merciful. And Ahlan wa Sahlan. A warm welcome and return to mid morning talk with me, your host. Maria Mia, yes, I'm coming to you virtually. Amazing what technology can do. We can be connected from wherever we might be. So, yes, working virtually. So, please bear with me. I'm nervous about technical gremlins. So, inshallah, I've got a virtual support team, and let's see, inshallah, all goes well, and you'll be able to hear me loud and clear. And for those of you connecting on YouTube and Facebook, be able to watch me loud and clear as well. And as always, the team has lined up in a wonderful, exciting show. And today is a commencement of World Charity Week. Yes, it is hosted by an international organization of Charity Week, and the focus on Charity Week is on raising funds to ease the plight and better the plight for children specifically. And with that in mind, I'll be speaking to two iconic sisters who have dedicated their lives to ensure children's lives improve, they become empowered, they receive an education so that that education can assist them to overcome their challenges and to change their status from being uh, under resourced to then have the skills and resources so that they can then contribute positively to their communities and society at large. So first up, I am going to be speaking to a sister who's on the front lines of serving humanity, and that is Sister Ayesha Patel, who is the projects coordinator at Imdaad Foundation, and we're going to discuss her personal journey of being involved in the space of humanitarian efforts and how it has evolved her as a person. Thereafter, yes, October is World Mental Health Month, and we're going to be speaking to Cassie Chambers in terms of how unpacking how do we maintain optimal health as well as how do we provide support to those that are suffering from certain mental conditions. More important, how do we remove the stigma that is so often attached to mental health issues? Thereafter, looking forward to speaking to another iconic sister who has made it as well her mission to assist especially young females, and that is Sister Muniba Bayat, and she is the director of the Day Foundation. And thereafter, my baby educational insight, I'm going to be speaking to accomplished educationist, I call her lecturer, as well as a PhD student, and that is Sister and lecturer, Sister Shakira Akbar, and we're going to be discussing her recent we're going to be discussing her recent PhD dissertation about achievements. All this coming up after the break. Please do choose to stay tuned, and we're going to be in each other's company until one this morning, so this afternoon rather. So please do stay tuned. We're going to take a short break, and when we come back, we'll be speaking to Sister Ayesha Patel.
Looking to get your kick? Kiki's have now reopened on 235 Matthews Maiwa Road in Durban. Head on over for the Taste with Kick. We offer something scrumptious for everyone in the family. Wraps, chicken tikka, burgers, tender grills, mocktails, milkshakes, and so much more. Corporate and events catering available. Visit our social media pages for more info or call 031 209 0119. Kiki's, the Taste with Kick.
Famine, conflict, and severe economic decline make the humanitarian crisis in Yemen the worst in the world. More than 20 million Yemenis do not know where their next meal is coming from. and over 10 million are suffering extreme levels of hunger. With your support, the Imdaad Foundation delivers essential food aid to starving Yemeni communities. It's a question of survival. So let's do what's right. Donate online at alimdaad.com or call 0861 786 243 for more information.
For a long time, we've lived in a centralized world where institutions held the all-important data and confirmed all transactions. Those times are over. Welcome to Libertas Group, a blockchain development company boasting an ecosystem that continually redefines the way we do business. Our blockchain is decentralized, making it immune to hacking or alteration, putting the power back in your hands with no middleman so you can focus on the growth of your business. Libertas, the simplest investment choice you'll make.
Shimmer, sparkle, captivate. Nothing less than a masterpiece. Droplets of gold inspires precious design. Platinum bursts with intricate freshness, and every pure diamond becomes more than just a girl's best friend. Voda Gold Gem Jewelers, where timeless dreams become a reality. Come to us. We tailor-make designer gold, platinum, and diamond jewelry. Trade in or remodel your old gold. Clad yourself with classy name-branded watches. We offer insurance valuation and freezer card calculation. Visit us at 534 Ridge Road, Overport, or call 031 208 9142. Voda Gold Gem Jewelers, manufacturers of fine gold and diamond jewelry.
Salam Media, a global voice for humanity.
With me, your host, Maria Mia. And now I'd like to welcome Sister Ayesha Patel, who is Projects Coordinator at Imdaad Foundation. Sister Ayesha has indeed traveled the path less traveled for most of her life, including early on in her education. Those years, without giving her age away, she was homeschooled at a time when when homeschooling, I mean, was not deemed popular as it was now, or a very viable option as the pandemic has taught us in terms of distance learning. And I think maybe she gets the tenacious spirit from her mom, who, despite many negative remarks or challenges regarding their decision to be homeschooled, soldiered on and was willful in terms of that is how she's going to best provide education to Sister Ayesha and her siblings as well. But having said that, Sister Ayesha is also, alhamdulillah, a hafiza, having memorized the Quran as well. Alhamdulillah, what an honor indeed. And yet she's also studied her tertiary education. She has a degree from UNISA in the Bachelor of Science, mashallah. So very accomplished person. And then, alhamdulillah, her marriage to the I think one of the founding fathers of Imdaad, our Qari Ziad Patel, had then taken her on an entirely different trajectory and assist her in terms of growing and evolving and also looking at the world in a different perspective as well, since she then accompanied him at the forefront of many countries in terms of providing relief efforts as well as empowerment in other projects. So let's welcome Sister Ayesha Patel to Salam Media. Assalamu alaikum, Sister Ayesha Patel, and welcome to Salam Media.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh to you and to all your listeners.
Shukr for joining us and giving us of your time in that. Truly, I'm reading about your life journey thus far. I mean, Alhamdulillah, the Almighty has used you as a means in different forms to serve humanity, and very accomplished thus far. I'd like to think in your young age, because inshallah, the Almighty grant you the health and strength to continue serving humanity at large.
Ameen, ameen, ameen.
So there's so much to talk about. Before we get there, I'd like to delve into the young Ayesha Patel prior to she becoming the spouse and the partner of Qari Ziad Patel in terms of the projects you coordinate jointly and the travels you do. as an educationist, my passion is schooling, and yes, I am an advocate for homeschooling in terms of different circumstances, especially I believe certain children definitely benefit from a homeschooling
Mhm.
environment. So I know when your mom was at the forefront
Yes.
of and the determination to homeschool you. Tell me a little about of that experience and as a product of homeschooling who had then also had the opportunity to go to university. How was the
Mhm.
journey for you?
Well, look, I come from a small place. I don't know, many people may have heard, may have not.
Sister Aisha?
The high school was only Afrikaans. So homeschooling was basically the only option because you had to go to an Afrikaans university or travel very far away to go to the English high school. So that's how homeschooling came into play, and that's how my mother decided, okay, let's give it a shot. And Alhamdulillah, I won't say it was easy. In those days, it wasn't easy. You didn't have much support, but we managed and we soldiered on. And Alhamdulillah, I completed my matric, and then my brother soon followed, and then so did my sister. And it happened. I remember, I vividly remember the days. Our dining room used to look like a classroom. My mother used to sit with us, and we used to make posters, and she had my father used to say, oh my word, this dining room looks like a classroom. It was full of posters on the walls, and we learned our timetables like that. And Alhamdulillah, I completed my matric. And then university was definitely not an option because my father wouldn't have allowed me to have traveled to Johannesburg or any other city. So again, correspondence was the only option. And Alhamdulillah, I soldiered on, and 4 years later graduated with a BSc in computer science. So yes, Alhamdulillah. And then thereafter got married, and Kariziad and I a year later traveled to the UK, and we did an undergrad diploma in a master's diploma, sorry, in humanitarian science at the University of Liverpool, and then moved on to Italy to do our further master's in humanitarian intervention at the Political University of Milan. So Alhamdulillah, that I did with Kariziar, and I had my mahram with me, so that wasn't an issue. But yes, Alhamdulillah, we did it.
Please
Yes,
help
and I
me
know in today's times,
in
homeschooling is huge. My sister actually is a qualified school teacher, and she's now opened a fully fledged homeschool in Norwood. And every day she gets requests for more and more kids because the demand today is just huge for homeschooling. And I think parents are seeing better results. And with COVID, you feel your kids are safer in a safer environment. So yes, because of my mother's encouragement and all of that, she herself has decided to embark, and she's got a teaching degree, and then embarked and opened a homeschool. So yes, it's been a good journey, Alhamdulillah.
and tell me, can you hear me, Aisha?
I can hear you, Matri.
Okay. And tell me those degrees you did, well, the diplomas you had in terms of understanding your relief efforts, your role as a field worker, so to speak, when you are on the ground, and that did that theory hold you in good stead to practically apply that knowledge when you are at, well, you know what we call ground zero at a disaster situation?
Absolutely, 100%. The diploma that we did at the University of Liverpool, that opened a lot of doors for us because we did sphere training, which I don't know if many people are aware of it. So I'm a qualified United Nations sphere trainer. So that opened doors for us into Geneva, into the United Nations. So we are recognized by the UN, and that recognition allows us to freely access UN in different disasters, meaning we have access to their helicopters, their resources, all sorts of things, because we are recognized as sphere trainers. So I can also go on to train others. And I have trained many other females in the sphere training in South Africa as well as other countries. So yes, definitely, those courses did really, really open a lot of doors for us. As we do know, the Liverpool is one of the most racist cities in the world. And it wasn't easy, you know, living in Liverpool for all that time. We do know there are a lot of Muslims in the UK, but at the time when we were there, there was it was still very, very, very racist. There are not many Muslims at that time. There were not many Muslims in Liverpool. Obviously now it's different. I mean, we're talking about 16, 17 years ago. It was very, very different, and we had a lot of challenges living in Liverpool. But at the university, we were fine. You know, we were absolutely fine. We were the only Muslim couple in the class. We were a class of over 60 from 58 different countries. And there were many, many Arabs at the university. And I had so many females come up to me and, you know, congratulate me. And they used to, I never knew they were Muslim until they greeted me, because they were so scared to wear the hijab. And I mean, I went dressed in my niqab and my hijab, my abaya. That was my dress every single day. And they used to congratulate me that, you know, you're very, very brave to come to this campus. It's a huge campus, to come dressed like this to the campus. I mean, I was the only one at that time on the campus dressed that way. And I received a lot of interest. I vividly remember one day there was a student that came up to me, and Ziad was with me, and she started shouting at me, and she started shouting at him, and she says, what is wrong with you? You know, how dare you throw acid on her face, that she needs to cover up and dress this way. So we looked actually quite shocked at her, and I said, but excuse me, lady, what are you talking about, you know? She says, yes, you're covering up your face because he has thrown acid on you. I said, would you like to see my face? Because there's no acid. There was no acid ever thrown on me. I choose to dress this way. And I lifted my niqab, and she looked at me in utter shock, you know. And we sat down, and we actually took her, we had a cup of coffee, and we explained to her. And she, you know, there's so much of ignorance. But look, times have changed. There's a lot of awareness now, and a lot of women. I mean, if you go to the UK now, there are tons and tons of ladies and females in the niqab and the hijab. So yes, times have changed. It wasn't easy for us at that time, but alhamdulillah, we managed, we soldiered on. And Italy as well, it had its challenges. I mean, you know, Islamophobia was a lot in those days, but alhamdulillah, we managed. Exciting.
Mashallah, on all fronts, you are visionary, truly, truly visionary on all fronts as well, because you know, part of the space you work in is about educating people who've seen negatively through the propaganda of the media about the negative of Islam. And you know, like you said, the Asad, I didn't even factor in that they would think we wear niqab because we sort of, maybe that is a mark of being subservient or something like that. I don't know what they think, and hence we have to adorn a niqab. So I want to take you back to your first time ever, and this is going back many, many years, where you were a field worker, in terms of your visit to the devastation in the tsunami stricken region in Indonesia. And you say it was a site of desolation and absolute carnage. And I think that first trip had an indelible mark and impact on your mind, body, and soul, in terms of, were you prepared for what you had to witness, and how it changed you, and the post-traumatic stress that you yourself encountered afterwards. So tell us about a little bit about that first trip, and when you landed. Were you in Banda Aceh at the time?
Yes.
In Indonesia, and tell us your experiences, please.
Okay, so you know, a lot of people ask me, how did I ever get involved in Imdaad? And my answer is very simple. I didn't get involved in Imdaad. I married Imdaad. So Imdaad is my husband, is my child, is everything, you know. So when Kariziad and I got married, I did know that he was involved in Imdaad. Imdaad was very, very young at that time. We were just 2 or 3 years old. And he said he planned our honeymoon to Bali, to Indonesia. And he mentioned to me that, look, we're going to Bali, but after that, I've got some work. Like, you know, I mean, the tsunami happened. So I didn't understand what the work entailed or what he was talking about. I don't think he wanted to tell me too much. And I think it was best what he did, because had he told me, it would have frightened me And I think throwing me into the deep end prepared me for what was to be the rest of my life, with him. And that's what happened. We went to Bali, we had our honeymoon, and then thereafter we took a flight and we flew to Jakarta and then made our way to Banda Aceh. And Alhamdulillah, we spent almost 3.5, almost 4 weeks in Banda Aceh. And it was, yes, it was an utter shock because I had never seen devastation like that in my life. I had never seen death. I mean, we see it on television and we see it on the news, but to see it in real life, I think changed me as a person. It made me a different person, and it prepared me for what my journey was to be, being married to Ziad and also being a part of Al Imdaad. So yes, it was utter shock. The stench of death was so much. I mean, as we know, the numbers were huge. There were 270,000 deaths just in Banda Aceh, and I vividly remember there were mass graves. They were just collecting bodies, and it was real shock. We stayed in one of the only decently standing buildings. It was in the middle of the city, and I remember we even opted to stay right at the top penthouse kind of floor, just so that we felt safer. And I used to tell Ziad, oh my word, when I flush the toilet, it's like I can hear it flushing far away, because the entire sewage system of the city was destroyed. There was nothing left in Banda Aceh. For kilometers and kilometers and kilometers, you just saw devastation, and all that salt water, the stench of the salt water was rotting everything. I mean, we saw ships that were lying in the middle of the city, and the city was almost like 20 kilometers from the seaside. So that's how high the waves were. That's how intense the tsunami was. The strength of the tsunami, that it managed to bring huge ships 20 kilometers inland and flattened houses and buildings. And up till today, if you visit Banda Aceh, some of these ships have now been changed and turned into museums, because obviously they could never move them again. They're just standing there. So yes, that was my first Al Imdaad, I'd say, Al Imdaad trip. And interesting, shocking. I sometimes I was so gobsmacked, and so I had no words. But Ziad was there, and he was a support, and I think he having him there made a huge difference. It made a very huge difference. And I think when you're younger, you adapt. I was very young at that time, so you adapt, and it made it easier. Whereas if you're older, I think the trauma is worse. So Alhamdulillah, we came home, we had some debriefing. We had to have debriefing because it was a shock to my system. But I always say
Aisha,
that.
I'd like to focus on that because when you came back, I mean, that was your first time essentially on a field trip and your initiation, so to speak. I think Kari Ziad Patel took you right in there. I mean, treated you to a wonderful, what we call honeymoon time away.
Yeah.
And they said, this is my life and you need to understand it. So, I mean, your initiation was, I think, the most difficult place. I didn't even think about the sewer system, that aspect of devastation until you spoke of it now. And I said, I didn't even think about that aspect as well until you brought it up now in terms of you witnessed that reality. But when you came back, I mean, uh, your experience of post-traumatic stress was one of guilt, where you say you came back and all your worldly possessions you wanted to go and just donate it or give it away to a charity shop so that they could be sold to use it for projects. You wanted to sleep on the floor in sympathy, and you empathize with the brothers and sisters you've seen there. And for a while it was difficult. That sense of guilt was overriding until then again. I think Kari Ziad is your partner really in life, in all facets of your lives, because then he had to bring you to understand, to say, Aisha,
Yes.
that is not the way forward in terms of how you assist people that experience disasters or marginalized, or that guilt, or what you've been blessed with. You need to look at it as a shukr
Correct.
and as a bounty, and then tell us, and then take that forward and use yourself in a proper frame of mind, body, and soul in terms of serving humanity. So
Yes.
please,
Yes.
if you can just
That
enlighten
that
us
that's
on that
exactly what
aspect
happened.
as well. What happened thereafter? Because it's often easy we all hear when there's a disaster, and yes, the humanitarians in us want to jump there, to be on the forefront, to go and assist, but we don't ever understand what it can do to us psychologically, what we witness without a proper briefing or debriefing, or as you say, without proper training, like you studied in Liverpool, in terms of to understand what you're going to do and your responsibility while you're there, thereafter, and then a sustained commitment. So just explain to us, because you know what, you do need training to be involved in this type of efforts.
You know, you that is so true what you're saying, because the training kind of allows you to focus, because before we go on these missions, I know what to expect because of the training. You know, you have to put your emotions aside in order to be of an asset, because if you're going to be emotional, and you're just gonna you're gonna burden those around you. So you got to push the emotions aside. You're there for a purpose, you're there to serve, and then deal with the emotions when you come home. So that's what we do, and that's where the debriefing comes in. So yes, after that first trip, I was very, very affected when we came back. I mean, I was a new bride, and I mean, we have lots of beautiful things, and I had so much of guilt. I didn't feel like wearing anything. I didn't want to, look at jewelry. I just felt like, oh my word, ya Allah, these people. I met people that lost like 25 or 27 family members, and they were like completely alone, and look at me with all these things and all these beautiful things, and that's exactly what happened. I was very, very down. I was very, very depressed. And then as time went, Kariziat saw it was affecting me, and then he sat me down and he explained to me that, look, these things are not a burden to us. Allah Ta'ala has bestowed us with all these bounties as a blessing. So we need to make shukr for what we have. So every time I would get that feeling of like, I shouldn't have all these things and it's wrong for me to have, then he used to tell me, make wudu and go and sit on the musalla and make 2 rakats shukr namaz. And I did that. And alhamdulillah, slowly, it dawned upon me that I need to make shukr for what I have, and not be angry that I have everything. And obviously also, initially I just wanted to give everything away. And then, we're human. After a while, we forget. And then what we do, we go and buy new things. So then it was like, it was going on like that. And then I realized, no, this is wrong. We shouldn't be feeling guilty. We should make shukr for what we have. And yes, that the debriefing really, really assists. It's very, very important. And I find the best debriefing, I mean, we usually go in a team, so we 2 or 3 members or however many, and the best debriefing happens. So what we do, when we on during the day, we're busy, we're doing our distributions, we're doing our visiting, we're doing our search and rescue, or whatever we're busy doing. And then in the evening, when we are free now, then we sit together as a team, and that's when we discuss the events for the day, what troubled us, what we could have did better, or that personal debriefing amongst team members. I find that very, very, very effective. So the next day, when you go in again, and when you're on the ground again, it gives you better perspective. So yes, that debriefing we do, and then yes, when we come home, we have a professional debriefing done again. And then I find also very good debriefing is speaking to family members. I speak to my mother, I speak to my mother-in-law, because they know where we are, they understand what we do. And I find that fantastic debriefing, with family members, siblings. And then yes, it makes it very easy for me, because I have a partner with me. Kariziad is with me, I'm his support, he's my support. So we lean on each other, and that really, really assists as well. So alhamdulillah, that's how we get by.
I know they always say behind every successful man is an even more successful sister. And in your case, it's true. I mean, I didn't realize that you accompany Kari Ziad Patel on most of his trips, because when I interview him or he's interviewed, he's the face behind the Al Imdaad project internationally as well, locally. But now we see where we can attribute his success for, because he's got a very, very capable, professional, able support system in yourself, mashallah. And I'd love to, I could go on chatting for you for much longer, and inshallah, I'd like to catch up with you, and maybe in the
Inshallah.
future focus on some of the projects that you personally involved with and coordinated in that. But today it was about Sister Ayesha Patel, as well, in terms of paying tribute to you here on Charity Week in terms of your personal experiences and how you got to the poor. And I so enjoyed this conversation and the insights you offered myself and the listeners. And we make dua that the Almighty continue using you as a means to serve humanity and also to progress the foundation as well. I know when I met you, you told me, uh, I don't have any biological children of my own, but Alhamdulillah, Allah has blessed me with children the world over.
Correct.
And you told me, Qari Ziad and Al Imdaad are your babies. So
Yeah.
Alhamdulillah, may the Almighty even bestow you a lot more children, and
Ameen.
where you can
Ameen.
make a meaningful impact and contribution
Ameen.
in their lives. It's been an absolute pleasure speaking to you, a privilege and inspiration, Sister Ayesha Patel, Projects Coordinator of Al Imdaad Foundation.
Jazakallah khair for having me. Jazakallah.
We're gonna go for a short break, and then yes, we're going to be speaking about mental health. October being the month of mental health awareness, so is Sister Aisha alluded to in terms of what causes post-traumatic stress syndrome as well and other mental health issues. All this after the break.